stuff and Freeport as well. Well, you are. What's happening is that containers today from the West Coast go through Rosenberg on their way to Houston, and you are in their way. So basically, it's just a matter of stopping those here because those are the facilities they want to use. Equally, in terms of Freeport, if the Freeport supply chain grows, then we're going to see another source of containers coming in, and basically what we're going to see is Rosenberg is going to be, if you like, this gateway, this entrance to what I call the Texas Trade Corridor, which is going to stretch north, not just to Dallas-Fort Worth. You know, we wanted to rename the Port of Freeport the Port of Dallas-Fort Worth. We thought that really what was happening with Freeport, it was becoming one of the key gateways to the Dallas-Fort Worth market, which is a very strong market, as is the Houston market. So it's not like Freeport is going to be just the port for Houston. It's really going to be the port for Dallas-Fort Worth. It's also going to be a way to compete in the Midwest market with the West Coast, because basically the shippers who move the containers have the choice of where the containers get off the boats. Now, if you're a shipper
talking specific to Rosenberg,
basically the Midwest market, you can say, well, I can move across the Pacific, unload in LA, and let the railroads take it all the way to Chicago, which will be a relatively short trip for me. Or I can go through the Panama Canal all the way to Houston or Freeport, and basically I will have a longer and therefore make more money with my boat if I go the longer way, and also it will be cheaper because marine costs are 2 cents per TEU, whereas rail costs are 14 cents per TEU. So you can do the calculation in your head. You can deliver a box cheaper into the market here in Texas if you come through the Panama Canal than if you go to the West Coast and then move it inland from there. Now, the advantage of the West Coast is it's faster. But and so high commodity value goods like electronics probably in the future are still going to go through the West Coast. But lower value goods are definitely going to come through the Panama Canal and are definitely basically going to come to places like Freeport or Houston in the future. So basically, you know, time-sensitive imports will arrive at Houston from the West Coast. Gulf Coast containers will arrive at Freeport for connecting for national distribution. And we're talking Oklahoma City, we're talking St. Louis, Kansas City, even Chicago. You're going to be competitive with the West Coast on what I call the Texas Trade Corridor, with basically the West Coast as far north as Chicago. However, there will be competitors, and one of the competitors that you hear a lot of noise about is Savannah, and of course LA and Long Beach themselves. But nonetheless, the Texas Trade Corridor will be cheaper than basically coming in through the West Coast. As a result, the heavier, bulkier stuff will want to come in through Texas. The other great advantage of Texas, of course, is you've got a massive supply of exports. So you're not only bringing in a full box full of Chinese stuff that you're going to sell to the retail industry, but you're also going to be able to take out a lot of polymers and resins, which basically give you a double trip, which halves your cost. So not only are you cheaper per mile for the transportation, but you've also got a double load, so you can all do the economics of that pretty easily and know that that's going to be something that the industry itself is going to be very, very interested in. Shippers are going to be very, I can take my boat full to Freeport, and I'm going to get back to China full, as opposed to just have it full to the West Coast and empty boxes back to China. So this is really going to be a very tough competition, and we think the supply chain through Texas is going to be a really strong competitor in terms of how shippers will think about moving boxes from places like Asia. I use Asia as an example because, you know, obviously that's a very dynamic growth market. And if you look at the volumes that have been moving since the 1960s, you can see this exponential growth in commodities coming into the U.S. And I'm pretty certain that regardless of politics, we're going to need more and more boxes just because we're going to have more and more population and we're going to do more and more consuming and we're richer and richer. So regardless of politics, regardless of how this sort of local short-term trade stuff works out, in the long term we're basically going to see a continuation of the trend that began in the 60s, where we're going to see basically more and more commodities get moved. You know, German cars are going to come from US to China. China's going to send, you know, commodities that we want to Walmart and Target into the US. Those volumes are going to grow. If we look at the West Coast market, what we see is that I say to my wife, why am I adding closets to our house for you to